Welcome to the New Heights Show on Education. I'm Pamela Clark, founder and director of the New Heights Educational Group, and I'm here with David Smith, the founder of Silicon Valley High School, who has helped us get these podcasts produced and delivered to you.
Yes, Pamela, when we saw the great things that you and your army of volunteers were achieving at New Heights, we wanted to get involved. We're happy to work with you to leverage the internet and make quality education accessible and affordable to everyone, everywhere.
Thank you, David. We appreciate Silicon Valley High School helping us to get these podcasts out to the hundreds of thousands of listeners from all over the world. So I hope you enjoy the show.
In this week's episode, we will discuss education reform on mission.
Hello, everyone. This is Danielle Washington coming to you live from Ms. Buffy Williams' office. Just sitting around thinking about life and trying to become better people tonight, so check us out. Welcome back. You're on the air with Buffy Williams, and you have been listening to the New Heights Show on Education. We have been discussing the show's purpose on mission.
Good evening. This is your host, Buffy Williams, and you're listening to the New Heights Educational Group, the New Heights Show on Education. Tonight's topic is educational conferences and professional development. On last week, we discussed parent education events, PTO and PTA meetings, and how collaboration through these organizations has bonded together the relationship between students, parents, and educators, and how that relationship can be elevated through that bond. On tonight's episode, we are learning more about why educators have educational conferences and professional development opportunities that enhance their skills in the K through 12 area of teaching and administration. So let us hear your thoughts. Call us at 917-948-7542, or put your ideas or comments in the chat box, or tag us on social media at NHEG, or as always, you can post your comments on Twitter at Buffy_Awakened, or on Spreaker, Instagram, or YouTube. Remember, my fellow host at New Heights, Erica Hansen, airs on Thursdays at 2 o'clock p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 1 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I know that the world is still going through a difficult time of transition, and this period can be very stressful for a lot of our listeners out there and their family members. But on tonight, instead of a quote, I do have some principles that I find helpful in my own life, and I thought that I would share them with you on this evening. Just for today, I will not worry. I will be grateful. I will honor all life. I will let go of anger. I will do my work honestly. Just for today. I think sometimes that we try to take on too many things rather than focus on what's right in front of us for today. And we know that our educators are going through a very difficult time, as well as the persons who are affected by COVID-19 and their family members, and a number of people have lost family members. But we want to remember that, just for today, if we could just stay in the moment of today, even though we may be enduring some very difficult times, we can also look at how we can be grateful for the opportunities and the times that we've had up until this point, and focus on today. So we'll just take a moment to reflect on the lives that have been changed and the love and light that others have brought into this world who may have passed on, and also to honor those who are suffering financially, physically, mentally, or emotionally during this difficult time of transition. Transition sometimes can be extremely difficult depending on your current state, but we want our listeners to know that we carry you in our hearts and we have compassion and love for you, and we want to let you know that you're not enduring this alone. Thank you. So when we think about education conferences and professional development, as many of our listeners know, in most professions, after you obtain your degree, you get what is called continuing education credits or units, depending on what area or specialty you're in. Of course, you all know that my profession is a therapist, so I also, in order to keep my license, have to obtain a certain number of what's called continuing education credits in order to stay licensed in any state and nationally. And some teachers also have a requirement where they receive professional development, whether it's they actually receive continuing education for those credits sometimes, and then sometimes they're just professional development that maybe the administrator decides that they need at the school. And so it will be better served to have that actually at the school setting locally. And it's something that's going to enhance the teaching skills of the overall staff and the functionality of the school and better aid the students. And so when we talk about continuing education and professional development in the areas of education in K through 12 with teachers and administrators, it can run the gamut from, on the local level of the principal or administrator or program coordinator bringing someone into the actual school to provide those educational services to the teachers and administrators, or it could be on a state, regional, national level. And these workshops are just designed as a way to, after you get out of college, continue on with your education so that you're abreast of all the new trends and educational information that could be out there. So these educational conferences are hosted all over the world, and it also gives teachers and administrators an opportunity to travel to other districts, maybe to another state, and collaborate with people all over the world in these educational events. And in K through 12 administration and education management, they have conferences that could be tailored to a particular segment area. So if a teacher is specialized in mathematics, of course, they would probably go and get those continuing education credits within the field of mathematics. And if anything has changed, or if there are any new trends, or anything that's related to technology in a particular field, then the education conferences or education workshops would be a place where the teachers and administrators would go in to receive that information from experts. And so when we look at continuing education, it could be in the form of going to an actual conference, or sometimes they're called summits or symposiums. But traditionally, these conferences are large events that bring educated professionals together in a particular field. And they have different activities, like they'll bring in speakers, and they'll have breakout workshops and networking sessions so that teachers can actually not only gain the latest information on whatever particular specialty area of education that they're in, but they can take that time to actually go into smaller breakout workshops and actually maybe have an opportunity to have some feedback, some one-on-one conversation with the expert in that particular area, and also network with other educators to see what best practices they may have been using within their schools. And then a summit is very similar to that, but they often have like more high-level professionals, let's say if there's someone on a national scale, to bring out the newest findings within a particular field. And some of these summits function just like education conferences. And then they have what's called a symposium. And this event is where, experts in the field come and give presentations to large audiences on the outstanding education event that may be coming up in that particular area. And so that's kind of a breakdown of, what educational conferences and professional developments, their makeup could be. But in my past, I also like to not only look at the trends within my particular state, but I've always been a person who was curious about how other states operated and how they made a program successful, and especially if they had any data attached to that. I was always very curious at what the numbers looked like. I can remember in the past where I was not a fan of statistics, and I probably have shared that on a number of my shows, but now it's almost like one of those things that I have to have. I kind of want to know what the numbers look like. And we understand that statistics is based on, whatever the data is based on your data set, and, actually, what you're testing and, what population you're working with. But it's always interesting, especially in an education setting, because that's a very controlled group. You can pretty easily narrow down the demographics of, age, gender, academic aptitude, and kind of look at the full spectrum of all the students and where they are and where they're ranking, or where you may be lacking in a particular area or not targeting students in a particular area, and where your weak spots are. And I think that that's a very powerful tool because you have such a controlled group. And then, of course, you're going to have some students who may stop out of school, or students who may transfer to another school, and students transferring in. So that does kind of make your numbers fluctuate to a degree, but a large number of those students will remain with that school and will progress from one grade level to the next, or not. And then you can use that data and those best practices to kind of work with that particular cohort group. And that's one of the interesting things that I find about it. But also, when you go to these education conferences, they have, as I stated, different areas. And so you may have some that focus more on leadership and curriculum and how you can network and work on the best practices and share ideas as far as that is concerned. But then you also have yearly sessions. And these education conferences are pretty large. And like I said, I used to like to go to the regional and national level conferences, because sometimes the compilation of all the data that you receive on each level paints a better picture for your strategic plan of where you're trying to go and where your district is trying to go as far as education is concerned. And you're not stuck with tunnel vision per se by just working with your particular area. And so these conferences can, again, be very large. Some as large as, maybe 780 sessions. And that's a lot of information for educators to kind of narrow down. So you can kind of see why it would be more advantageous